Thank you very much.
Okay, Prabhuji, you can start now.
Omagana Tamradasya Gana Ganashalakaya Chakshuramalitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yukta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunastam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitam Nama Om Vishnu Pradaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami iti namini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Sri Tadmane Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha iti namini Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvese Sasuya Vali Pasachare Satarini Vanjakalpatarabhyascha Kripasandubhya Ivacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namini Gauratize Namaha Anityanando Vatutendur Vasuda Pranavalabhar Janavir Jita Patir Krishna Prema Prabhu Padmavati Sutasramam Sachirananda Purvajaha Bhavam Mata Jagat Rakta Gora Kelevaraha Adretam Marina Dvetara Charya Bhakti Shamshanat Bhaktavataram Itam Shamarveta Acharya Ashraye Panchatattamakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shantikam Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanitraya Namaste Pankajagraye Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandha Jagapate Gopesha Gopita Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Jayatam Sanato Pango Mama Dirgatima Sarvaswa Padam Bhuja Radha Mandana Mohano Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadrumanda Srimad Radhara Simhastanastau Srila Govinda Deva Prishnali Visavya Manosmarami Srimam Rasa Rasarambi Vam Sivata Tatastita Karusan Venuswanai Gopi Gopinata Sriye Stunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Devi Krishna Mai Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarvam Kanti Samohini Paraha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Gam karoti vachalam pangum nagayate grim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dina Taranam Paramanam Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Akanda Mandala Kram Vyipta Inachara Charam Tatpadam Dashitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So everyone is welcome to today's discussion, and today we are tackling the last lesson of the unit, that is lesson 5, now comprises of texts 9, 10, and 11. So as usual, His Grace Alika Prabhu will share his screen for the PowerPoint so that we can be guided by the slides from the PowerPoint. Yesterday we could not have a class because we had some public program. We were invited to some interfaith symposium, and we had to leave at 10 o'clock. So it was not. And then, of course, the Bhakti Vaibhav students were thinking we could start early, but then the Bhakti Vaibhav students had a class, and so we could not start early. And therefore, we just have to cancel the class of yesterday. Otherwise, today we should have been finishing this lesson, but as it is, we'll only do half of the lesson, probably, and then next week, we complete the other half. So we have lesson 5, which comprises of text 9, 10, and 11. So text 9, which is the next slide, we can see in the next slide. Krishna. Okay, the next slide says, Vaikunta Janito Vara Madhupuri Tatrapirus Raso Savat Vrindaranyam Udarapani Ramanat Tatrapi Govardhanaha Radhakundam Ihapi Goloka Pate Premamrita Plavanat Kuriyat Asya Viranjato Giri Tate Sevam Vivike Nataha. So that is the verse and the translation says, the holy place known as Mathura is spiritually superior to Vaikuntha, the transcendental world, because the Lord appeared there. Superior to Mathurapuri is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan because of Krishna's Rasalila pastimes. And superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill, for it was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna and was the site of his various loving pastimes. And above all, the super excellent, and above all, the super excellent Sri Radhakund stands supreme, for it is overflowed with the ambrosial nectarian prema of the Lord of Gokul, Sri Krishna. Where then is that intelligent person who is unwilling to serve this divine Radhakund, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill? So, in this verse, Rupa Goswami part is giving a spiritual hierarchy. He's saying that Mathurapuri is superior to Vaikuntha. Why is Mathurapuri superior to Vaikuntha? In a conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Raghupati in Prayag, Lord Chaitanya said, Shamam ivam parorupam puri madhu puri varaha vaya kaishorikam gyayam adya iva parorasaha. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that the Shamam Iva, the form of the Lord, Asham, is the best form, is the most beautiful form. Shama Sundram Achintya Guna Swarupam. The Shaman form, the blue-black form of Krishna, is the most beautiful, the most attractive of all the forms of the Lord. Then Mahaprabhu went on to say, Puri Madhu Puri Varaha. Puri Madhu means Mathura Puri. Mathura Puri. Mathura Puri is where Krishna appeared in this world. And because Mathura is associated with the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead on this planet, it is considered even superior to Vaikuntha. Because the Lord manifested his pastimes there. He began his pastimes in this world there, in Mathura Puri. So, because the Lord appeared in Mathura to initiate his earthly pastimes, Mathura is considered superior to the Vaikuntha planet. We must bear in mind that the original personality of Godhead, the original form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not stay in Vaikuntha. The original form of the Lord, he stays in Goloka. Vaikuntha is meant for the Narayan forms. And all the Narayan forms, they expanded from the Chaturvyuha. Is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, when the original Supreme Personality of Godhead in Mathura, immediately Mathura, and therefore Vaikuntha planets, because the original Supreme Person appeared in Mathura Puri. So here Rupa Goswami is giving us the understanding that Mathura, Vrindavan, Gokul, all of these places where the Lord performed his wonderful
Hare Krishna. It appears Srivas Vanacari's internet is wavering, so we'll wait a little bit for him to come back. Okay, he's back now.
is why it is that is why Mathura Puri is superior to the Vaikuntha planets. Gokul is superior to the Vaikuntha planets. Vrindavan is superior to the Vaikuntha planets because the original Supreme Personality of Godhead performed his wonderful pastimes in these places. Because the Lord had identified with these places, the Lord had touched these places, they have become superior. Rupa Goswami went on to say, but even superior to Mathura Puri is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan. So why are the transcendental forests of Vrindavan superior to Mathura Puri? Because Krishna performed his Rasa Leela pastimes there. There are 12 forests in Vrindavan: Madhuvan, Madhiravan, Vrindavan, Mahavan, and many more. Because it is mentioned that Krishna only brought down 12 of his forests from Goloka Vrindavan. In Goloka Vrindavan, there are unlimited forests where Krishna performs unlimited pastimes. But just like Krishna wants to enjoy his transcendental abode, he sampled certain areas, certain features of the spiritual world and brought them down into the material world. Like Govardhan Hill, it's a sample from the spiritual sky. Yamuna is a sample. The 12 forests, they're samples. There are unlimited rivers in Goloka Vrindavan. There are unlimited mountains in Goloka Vrindavan. Unlimited forests in Goloka Vrindavan. But Krishna just brought a sample because he has to perform his pastimes here on this planet. So therefore, those forests, those 12 forests, they are so fortunate that Krishna performed his Rasa Leela. The topmost activity in the universe were performed in the forest. And that is why they are considered superior even to Mathura, where Krishna appeared. But even superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan. And Rupa Goswami says, because Govardhan was personally lifted by Krishna and kept on his little finger for 7 days and 7 nights to serve as an umbrella, a divine umbrella over the heads of the Brigyabasis, to serve as a shelter for the Brigyabasis. So because Govardhan Hill, besides being a resident of the spiritual world, he was lifted by Krishna and kept in touch with Krishna for 7 days and 7 nights. And therefore, Govardhan Hill takes a superior position to that of the forest of Vrindavan. Krishna performed his Rasa Leela a number of times, but he did not stay there for, as soon as the night ends, the Rasa Leela finishes. And of course, Krishna has to go and take care of the cows. So the Rasa Leela was off and on. Sometimes it was happening, sometimes it wasn't happening. During the day, Krishna is out in the forest, enjoying with the cowherd boys. During the night, Krishna is dancing with the gopis. Of course, it is said that this Rasa dance took place during the Sharat season, when the moon is very, very bright. So Govardhan Hill has much more intimacy with Krishna for 7 days and 7 nights. And therefore, Govardhan Hill is considered superior to the forest of Vrindavan. And of course, Krishna also performed so many pastimes on Govardhan Hill, so many pastimes. Even though one may argue that Govardhan Hill is so far away from Gokul, Govardhan Hill is so far away from Vrindavan, how does Krishna go there practically daily with his cows and cowherd boy friends? Their chariot is playing. That Vrindavan is like a lotus flower. There's 64 square miles of the Vrindavan, Mathura Vrindavan area. 64 kroshas, 64 square miles of the Vrindavan area is like a lotus flower that opens and closes. When a lotus flower is open, the petals, they separate and they may look far apart. But when the lotus closes, the petals come together closely. So similarly, the 64 square miles area of Vrindavan, Mathura Vrindavan, is like a lotus flower. It acts according to Krishna's desire, Krishna's wish. When Krishna wants to go to Govardhan from Gokul, which is like 25, 27 miles, the lotus closes. The petals come together. And so Govardhan becomes very close to Gokul. That is the position of Krishna. Everything is under Krishna's control. Eka Krishna Sarveshwarashwara. Krishna is the only controller. He controls everything else. Whatever Krishna wants will happen. Nobody can oppose Krishna's position. So when Krishna wants to go from Gokul to Govardhan, a distance of about 25 miles, Krishna just desires to be there, and immediately the lotus of Vrindavan, the lotus of Mathura, Vrindavan Mandala will just close up, and Govardhan will just come very close to Gokul, and Krishna and his cowherd boys, they can just go there and play. And then when they finish, they come back, and then the lotus flower open again. Govardhan becomes 25 miles away from Gokul. So Krishna performs so many pastimes in Govardhan Hill, unlimited pastimes. In fact, it is said that every spot on Govardhan Hill is a pastimes place of Radha and Krishna. There are many spots, millions of spots on Govardhan Hill, around Govardhan Hill. And they are all wonderful pastime places of Krishna. Therefore, Govardhan Hill is superior even to the forest of Vrindavan. But above the Govardhan Hill, there is a super excellent place, Sri Radhakund. So Rupa Goswami writes, and above all, the super excellent Sri Radhakund stands supreme, for it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectarian prema of the Lord of Gokul, Sri Krishna. So Radhakund is a very, very special place. Actually, he said Radhakund is the topmost place in this universe. For anyone who gets a chance to go to Radhakund and touch that holy waters, just see that holy. One is a blessed soul. Why is Radhakund so important? Because Radha and Krishna, they perform unlimited pastimes in these places. So where is that person? Where is that intelligent person who is unwilling to serve this divine Radhakund, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill? Shyamkund and Radhakund, they are like the two eyes of Govardhan. And so Radhakund stands supreme because Krishna, Radha and Krishna, they perform so many intimate, sweet, nectarian pastimes in this kund. And so the kund is overflowing with that nectarian love between Radha and Krishna. And therefore, it occupies the topmost place in this universe. Therefore, every devotee must desire to live, visit Radhakund, and take a shower, take a bath there even once in this lifetime. Okay, let's move on. Let's see the extracts from the purport that would kind of spice up our discussion. So let's see the following. Yeah, so Krishna manifests his most complete qualities in Sri Vrindavan. Krishnasya punatam tamata vyata but gokulantare punata punataranta dwaraka mathura dishu. The most complete qualities of Krishna are manifested within Vrindavan, and his complete and more complete qualities are manifested in Dwaraka and Mathura. So this also tells us the superiority of Vrindavan. Krishna's most complete qualities are manifested within Vrindavan. Most complete. Then his more complete qualities are manifested in Mathura, and his complete qualities manifested in Dwaraka. I think we have jumped off. Have we not jumped from 98 or 99? And this is, yeah, this one we're supposed 99.
Sorry.
The spiritual world is superior to the material world before we go to Punatama. Yeah. The spiritual world is superior to the material world. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself talks about that. Parastas tasmatu bhavonyo vyakta avyakta sanatana. In the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse 20, Krishna is saying, yet there is another unmanifested nature which is eternal and transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. So, the spiritual world is 3/4 of the total creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it is the most exalted region. The spiritual world is naturally superior to the material world. However, Mathura and adjoining areas, although appearing in the material world, are considered superior to the spiritual world of Vaikuntha. So, Krishna's superior spiritual energy is always transcendental and eternal. Of course, the material energy is also transcendental and it's eternal because it's part of Krishna. But sometimes it is manifest or manifested, and some other times it is unmanifested. That is the nature of the material energy. The spiritual energy is always manifested. There is never a time when the spiritual energy is not manifested. It is eternally existing. As Krishna is Sanatana, Krishna is eternally existing. And the Jiva, the soul, is also Sanatana, also eternally existing. Therefore, the spiritual world, the spiritual energy is superior to the material energy because the material energy sometimes is manifest and sometimes unmanifest. Right now it is manifest, so we are seeing the material world, we're in the material world. But when it is annihilated, when the lifespan of Brahma is over and it is withdrawn, it will remain unmanifest for as long as Mahavishnu's inhalation lasts. When Mahavishnu exhales, then again the material energy is manifested. And when he inhales, material energy becomes unmanifested. Therefore, material energy is off and on. Sometimes it is visible and sometimes it is invisible. And therefore, it is considered inferior. And Krishna says that it is inferior. Para and apara. Para means superior, apara means inferior. So therefore, the material creation is inferior. But when Krishna performs his pastimes, when Krishna descends from the spiritual sky to perform his pastimes in a particular place, that place also acquires the qualities of the transcendental world. Because Krishna has performed his transcendental pastimes in these places, those places have acquired the transcendental nature of the Lord. And therefore, they are not subject to destruction. They are no more under the laws of material nature. They have assumed the spiritual nature. They have acquired the spiritual nature. So let's see the next slide. Okay, so this one, that's the next verse, the next slide that is talking about the different manifestations of the Lord's potency. The different manifestations of Krishna's qualities. Vraje Krishna Sarva Ishwarya Shwara Prakashe Punatama Purid Dwaye Parovyomo Punatara Punaha. Krishna is complete in the spiritual sky of Vaikuntha. He is more complete in Mathura and Dwaraka. And he is most complete in Vraj or Vrindavan due to his manifesting all his opulences in Vraj. Krishna manifested all the sweet opulences in Vrindavan. Those sweet pastimes were never witnessed by the people of Mathura, and they were never witnessed by the people of Dwaraka. In fact, it is said that Krishna was unhappy in Dwaraka. Krishna was always crying at night. Rukmini noticed that Krishna was always sobbing at night. And when Rukmini asked Krishna, "Why don't you sleep? Why are you always crying at night?" And Krishna revealed that he's simply feeling separation from the Brajabasis. He's feeling separation from Vrindavan. He's feeling separation from his dear devotees. And by that, Krishna indicates how dear Vrindavan, how dear the devotees of Vrindavan, how dear Braj is to him. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not manifest all his transcendental qualities, he is called complete. When all the qualities are manifest, but not in full, he is called more complete. And when all his qualities are manifested in full and in completeness, that is called most complete. So Braja, Vrindavan, that is where Krishna manifests all his qualities fully in the most complete manner. And therefore, Vrindavan, Mathura, they are superior to all other spiritual places because Krishna, especially in Vrindavan, Krishna manifests all his transcendental qualities in fullness. So therefore, Vrindavan is not an ordinary place. Vrindavan is as good as Goloka. Actually, it is Goloka Vrindavan that Krishna made to descend on this planet. Just like when the head of state of America, when he travels with his beast. It's a special vehicle, which is bulletproof. It's called the beast. Special vehicle. When the president of America is traveling inside his aircraft, Air Force One, he has a special airplane called Air Force One. Only the president uses it. And in that Air Force One, there's a garage inside. It's a flying house. Air Force One contains everything. While the president is flying, there's a conference hall, he can have conference with his ministers. There is a pool, there's a swimming pool, he can swim, there's a dining hall, there's a kitchen. That Air Force One is a flying house. And underneath is a garage where his special vehicle, the beast, that is bulletproof, is carried. He doesn't ride in any other vehicle. No, he will not. So if an ordinary man from the United States, who is subject to birth, disease, old age, and death like me and you, can import America, he practically imports America. Yes. Air Force One is part of America. Special military surveillance. It has special gadgets. It can divert bombs. It can do anything. And it's operated by the military. It is not, the pilots are not ordinary pilots. They are first-class Air Force men who pilot that plane. So if an ordinary man, subject to birth, death, disease, and old age, can import his environment, his abode from one country to another, why can Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, import the spiritual world into this material world? Actually, they are just imitating Krishna. We are just mimicking. We are mimicking Krishna. Because Krishna brings down the spiritual world into the material world where he can perform his pastimes without any disturbances. We, the living entities who want to compete with Krishna, we want to imitate Krishna. we also perform our own pastimes in our own small way. So Krishna's opulences are complete in Vaikuntha, more complete in Dwaraka and Mathura, and most complete in Goloka or in Vrindavan, in Gokul. And that shows how important Vrindavan is, how important Gokul is, how important Mathura is, how important Dwaraka is. Next slide, Prabhu. Sanika Prabhu, can we go to the next slide? Okay, thank you. So it says Vrindavan forest is superior to Mathura, Govardhan superior to the forest of Vrindavan, and Radhakund superior to all. Somebody like to read this? Anybody like to read?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. I would like to, I beg to offer my humble obeisances unto your Lord Krishna.
All glories to Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada. Go ahead.
Okay, that's the interior Vrindavan forest is considered superior to Mathura, but superior to this forest is the divine Govardhan hill, because Krishna lifted Govardhan hill like an umbrella, raising it with his lotus-like beautiful hand to protect his associates. The denizens of Raj from the torrential rain sent by the angry Indra, the king of the demigods. It is also at the Govardhan hill that Krishna tends the cow with his cowherd friends, and there also he had his rendezvous with his most beloved Sri Radha, and engaged in loving pastimes with her. Radha Kun with her. Radha Kun at the foot of Govardhan is superior to all, because it is there that love of Krishna overflow. Advanced devotees prefer to reside at Radha Kun, because this place is the site of many memories of the eternal loving affairs between Krishna and Radharani. This is found in Rati Vilasara, number 189.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. So,
And then that is not number one. It is nectar of instruction.
Vrindavan
Nine purpose.
nectar of instruction. Yeah, number 9. That's 9. Okay.
I difficult to read on screen here. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
So, Vrindavan forest is superior to Mathura, and Govardhan superior to the forest of Vrindavan, and Radhakund superior to all. So, we've already mentioned how, and it's also mentioned here, how Govardhan was lifted by Krishna with his own divine hands, and kept Govardhan close to him for 7 days and 7 nights to serve as an umbrella to provide shelter for the residents of Vrindavan who were being punished by Indra because they obeyed Krishna's instruction not to perform Indra Puja any longer. So, so the hierarchies hierarchy is given here. And this is due to the intimacy. The hierarchy is simply due to the intimacy of Krishna with these places. The more intimate Krishna is with the place, and so Radhakund is considered the topmost place because there the love of Srimati Radharani was flowing unlimitedly or flowed unlimitedly. When Krishna is in the association of Srimati Radharani, he cannot restrain his love. Similarly, when Radharani is in the association of Krishna, she cannot restrain her love. So when these two exalted divine personalities, when they meet in one place, there is an unrestrained flow of love from both directions. Love is flowing from Krishna, love is flowing from Radharani, and the two streams of love, they mix and produce nectar and ambrosia that we have never experienced in this material world. The nectar of Krishna's love and the nectar of Radharani's love, it is something we cannot dream of in this material world. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to demonstrate just a bit of it. It is said that in the last days of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he experienced a state of consciousness called Divya Mada, divine madness. And in that divine madness, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will not sleep. He could not sleep. He was just crying and crying and crying and asking everyone, even in the walls, in his room, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is the son of Nanda Maharaj? So like this, that love that exists between Srimati Radharani and Krishna, unlimited love, sweet love, nectarian love, was all flowing in the Radhakund. And love from Krishna was flowing towards Radharani, the love of Radharani towards Krishna was flowing. And so the two streams of love amalgamated in Radhakund. And therefore, Radhakund is considered the topmost spiritual place where Krishna's love for Radharani overflows and where Radharani's love for Krishna overflows. So just to catch a glimpse, to have a sight of Radhakund, what to speak of touching the water, and what to speak of immersing oneself in the waters of Radhakund. So therefore, advanced devotees prefer to reside at Radhakund because this place is a site of many, many memories of the eternal loving affairs between Krishna and Radharani. An example is Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami, if you go to Radhakund, his samadhi is right there on the banks of Radhakund. After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disappeared from this planet, Raghunath Das Goswami took shelter of Radhakund. And he stayed there and performed his bhajans until his last breath. So his samadhi is located on the banks of Radhakund. And many, many others, exalted Vaishnavas, they also took shelter of Radhakund, like Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. It is said that Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he wrote the commentaries of his Srimad Bhagavatam on the banks of the Radhakund, banks of Radhakund. While he was there writing his commentaries, there were some envious Babajis. So they planned to attack him. They were envious of him and they were thinking, why is this man living here, writing books? We should drive him away from here. It's always there. Envy is always part of the material world. So they planned one day to attack Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. But because Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur was such an exalted devotee, he understood their plan, he understood their mind. So before they arrived, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur took his eternal form, a Manjari form. And he was picking flowers around the area. So when these envious Babajis arrived, very angry, they want to attack Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, they couldn't find him. All that they saw was this young girl, a Manjari, picking flowers. So they asked the young girl, where is that man who sits here writing all the time? Where is he? Where is that man called Chakravarti Thakur? Where is he? And the young girl said, well, I don't know. I have been sent by Radharani to pick flowers for the worship of Krishna. So I don't know anything about some man sitting here writing books. I don't know. So they were frustrated. And then they tend to go. But when they look back, they saw that young girl who was picking flowers turned into Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. They were surprised. Because just in this a twinkle of an eye, they were talking to this young girl who said she was sent by Radharani to pick flowers for the worship of Krishna. And they turned their backs and wanted to go, but they wanted to look back again and see whether the young girl is there. And they saw that young girl was Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. He has manifested his form again. So they understood that they are offenders. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is a Manjari. He's Radharani's servant who dared them to bear grudge against such an exalted Vaishnava. So immediately they gave up their envy, they gave up their jealousy. They went back, they fell flat, all of them, they fell before Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur and offered obeisances and begged him, please, please, we came here with an evil mind. We came here to attack you. We're envious of you, but now you have kindly revealed your transcendental form to us by showing us your Manjari form. Now we understand that you are such an exalted personality, and therefore we want to take Diksha from you. Please give us Diksha. Make us your disciples. That's the only way we can counteract our envy That's the only way we can counteract our offense towards you. Make us your disciples. We are ready to serve you. Because the Vaishnava is always very compassionate. So Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he was so kind to them. He accepted all of them as his disciples. And they stayed with Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur on the banks of the river, of the banks of Radhakund, and they served him. So there's a Bhajan Kutir of Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, where he sat and wrote the purports of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So at his set, advanced souls, they take shelter of Radhakund because the love of Radha overflows and the love of Krishna overflows. Radharani is exuding unlimited love towards his beloved, and Krishna is also exuding unlimited love towards his beloved. So that Radhakund is a special place. And anyone who has a good fortune of visiting this place must take a bath at least once. That is what the scripture says. So next slide, Prabhu. So because Radhakund is so special, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived in Vrindavan, that was his goal. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu searches for Radhakund. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Mandalila, it is stated that when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first visited the area of Brajabhumi, he could not at first find a location of Radhakund. This means that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was actually searching for the exact location of Radhakund. Finally, he found the holy spot, and there was a small pond there. He took his bath in that small pond and told his devotees that the actual Radhakund was situated there. Later, the pond was excavated by Lord Chaitanya's devotees, headed first by the 6 Goswamis, such as Rupa and Raghunath Das Goswami. So it is said that when Mahaprabhu arrived within the 64 kroshas, the 64 square miles, when he entered the 64 square miles of Mathura Vrindavan, Mahaprabhu's ecstasy increased. And when Mahaprabhu arrived in Mathura, his ecstasy tripled. And when Mahaprabhu arrived in Vrindavan, his ecstasy went off the roof. But when he finally arrived in Radhakund, his ecstasy could not be controlled. In fact, the villagers were excited. They were surprised to see how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took a bath in ecstasy in those pools of water. He was singing and dancing. He was in ecstasy, taking bath in that pond. At the time Mahaprabhu went, these holy spots were lost. Radhakund, Shamkund were lost. It was in a rice paddy field. But because he is non-different from Krishna, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a combination of Radha and Krishna, so he knows exactly the spot where they perform those wonderful pastimes. If anybody else cannot find a place, that's all right. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he found a place because he has performed his pastimes there when he came as Krishna. So he found a place and he took his bath in ecstasy, chanted mantras, glorified the spot, sang songs, danced. Everyone was surprised to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it is said that Yata Radha Priya Vishnus Tasya Kundam Priyam Tata Sarva Gopeshu Saivaika Vishnu Atyanta Vallabha. Srimati Radharani is the most beloved cowhead girl of Sri Krishna. Not only Srimati Radharani, but the lake known as Radhakund is as dear to Krishna as Srimati Radharani herself. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Sabha Gopi Haite Radha Krishnera Priyasi Taije Radha Kun Priyayara Sarasi. Of all the gopis, Radharani is the most dear. Similarly, the lake known as Radhakund is very dear to Lord Krishna because it is very dear to Srimati Radharani. So Radhakund is very dear to Radharani, and because it is very dear to Radharani, is as good as Radharani. So,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, they never pronounce.
They never pronounce.
Yeah, I just want to remind you that we need to give them the open book question.
Oh, is that?
Yes, it will be just one question, because they will get one from Sri Supanisad also to make it two. So you should give it to them.
Well, I have to look at the questions. I have not looked at it, so I will after the class I will look at the questions because it's in my mail, soft copy.
Okay.
I will look at it.
How many more classes are remaining?
We have maybe today is the last but one. Next week we should finish. Either Saturday or Sunday we should finish. So I will look at it and then I can give it to Salika Prabhu to share. I think he has all the emails, right?
Okay. Hare Krishna.
You can share with them.
I'm here for you. What do you want me to do?
The essay.
Yeah.
I will identify the essay and I will send it to you.
Okay.
And you can share it to the students, because since we have one more lesson after this and we are done with nectar of instructions.
Okay.
So
okay.
we have to get the essay to write.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we move on to the next slide. Somebody like to read this?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Matan, you read.
The reason why Rupa Goswami gives much stress to Radha Kund. Presently, there is a large lake known as Radha Kund there. Srila Rupa Goswami has given much stress to Radha Kund because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desires to find it. Who then would give up Radha Kund and try to reside elsewhere? No person with transcendental intelligence would do so. The importance of Radha Kund, however, cannot be released by other Vaishnava Sampradayas. Nor can persons uninterested in the devotional service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understand the spiritual importance and divine nature of Radhakund. Thus, Radhakund is mainly worshipped by Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the followers of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Thank you, Bhakti.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So, even though Radhakund is so dear, and Rupa Goswami is giving so much stress, it is other Vaishnavas who do not belong to the Gaudiya Sampradaya, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they do not understand the importance of Radhakund. Ye kunde nitya Krishna radhikara sange, jale jala keli kare tire rasa range. In that lake, Radhakund Lake, Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani used to sport daily in those waters. And they used to have rasa dance on the banks of this holy lake. Therefore, it is a sport of divine love. It's a sport of divine interaction. It's a sport of divine exchanges between Radha and Krishna. And that makes this place very exalted. But other Vaishnavas cannot comprehend the importance of Radhakund. The Sri Vaishnavas and other type of Vaishnavas, they have no clue how important this Radhakund is. Only the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us this knowledge of Radhakund. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu demonstrated by his own personal example the importance of Radhakund. And so all Gaudiya Vaishnavas, following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they honor and give due respect to Sri Radhakund, because it is full of transcendence. Our goal is to attain Krishna Prem, Krishna Bhavamritam, the nectar of Krishna's name, the nectar of Krishna's love. Radhakund is important. Radhakund will arouse our spiritual sentiments. Of course, it is said that one should not bathe in Radhakund without the permission of his spiritual master. One should not go to Radhakund to swim like an ordinary lake. One needs permission from his spiritual master to enter Radhakund and take a dip. So those who are not part of the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, they have no information about the importance of Radhakund. So this is our great fortune, that we are coming in the line of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and therefore we are receiving this information of Radhakund, and we have the chance to be in Govardhan, we should take shelter of Radhakund.
Yeah, Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. I beg to
You have a
offer my
question?
humble.
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
I'm
please.
hearing you.
Yeah. Or I should wait until when you are done.
Okay, you're gonna ask the question.
Okay.
You can ask your question.
Okay. So actually, the slides just with that we just read. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Oh, okay. The slides that we just read. You see, personally, I am coming from a tradition whereby actually there is nothing that we do here that I have not seen before. So becoming a Krishna conscious or trying to be a devotee is not anything that is very strange to me. So the slide that we just read, that other sampradayas might not be able to worship Radhakund just because of they don't have any idea. But I am coming from a culture whereby even in hills are being worshipped. Not quite alone, we celebrated Salagram Shila. There is some form of tradition in my area which is similar to this. So when you say other sampradayas will not be able to understand this, I wanted to ask, does that tradition have something to do with Gaudiya Vaishnavas? Because they do the same thing, which is almost similar to what we, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, are doing. So personally, for me to trying to become a devotee, there is nothing strange for me here because all what we are practicing here, similar things have been done in my tradition, only that I don't have the meaning then. But when I become trying to become a devotee, I'm trying to get the meaning to what my people have been doing before. That is why I'm trying to appreciate them more than before. So I would like to know if you can throw a little light on this for me. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, Hare Krishna, first of all, we have to understand that the Vedic tradition is the most ancient tradition. And so this tradition it is part of the Asian culture. There are some explanations that at one point the whole world was practicing the Vedic tradition. But due to the influence of time, the tradition is forgotten. But we shouldn't be surprised that in Africa, some of these traditions are still present. Like reincarnation, I always say, reincarnation is part of the African cosmology. There is no African tribe that does not believe in reincarnation. And reincarnation is one of the major tenets of the Vedic tradition. Demigod worship is a Vedic tradition. It is very common in Africa. Atiti Seva, receiving a guest, is a Vedic tradition. There is no place in Africa you go and people will not receive you. So what I'm just trying to say is that whatever we are seeing in our cultures, they have their roots in the Vedic culture. At one time in the world, Vedic culture was all over the whole world. That was the standard culture. 5,000 years back, maybe 3,000 years back. But as time progresses, this knowledge is lost. Some traditions are still preserving that knowledge, but they only keep to the rituals. The essence is lost. Why they are doing it is lost. The philosophy is lost, but they still keep the rituals intact. So we shouldn't be surprised to see many of the traditions of the Vedic culture being practiced in different parts of Africa. But the sampradayas that are not aware of Radha Kund and Sham Kund, it is simply due to the fact that they accept Lord Narayan as the Supreme Personality of God, and like the Sri Vaishnavas. The Sri Vaishnavas are the followers of Ramanuja Acharya. They are called the Sri Vaishnavas. Their sampradaya is Sri Sampradaya. So for them, they don't have knowledge about the intimate pastimes of Krishna. For them, the Supreme Lord is Lord Narayan, and they even say that Krishna comes from Lord Narayan. That is their understanding. And so they do not bother to find extra or additional information about the Supreme Personality of God as Sri Krishna. They accept Lord Narayan as the ultimate, the final authority, and that's it. They don't go beyond that. But in our case, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came 500 years ago, established the fact that Radha and Krishna are superior to Lord Narayan. He established the fact that Goloka Vrindavan is the capital of the spiritual world, and there you find the 200 form of Krishna as the ultimate Godhead. And therefore, the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan are dear to those who are lucky or fortunate to get this knowledge of Sri Krishna, Shamsundara Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who limit themselves to the Narayan forms and they accept Vaikuntha as the ultimate, they don't even make an attempt to know more about Shamsundara Krishna. But we are fortunate that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is not different from Krishna, Radha and Krishna combined, he revealed many, many things to the devotees. And so naturally, those of us who are members of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we have access to this knowledge. And therefore, we have something additional which the Sri Vaishnavas don't have. And that is why it is mentioned in this slide that the Radha Kund is not known by these Sri followers of the Sri Sampradaya and other Vaishnava Sampradayas who are not connected to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And for them, their goal is Vaikuntha. They are not thinking about Goloka Vrindavan and so on. So that is the situation. And so we shouldn't be surprised because we know that there are different levels of knowledge of God. There are different levels of realizations. As we know, Brahman realization, Paramatma realization, and Bhagavan realization. So according to your level, a certain degree of knowledge is revealed to you. So, but the Bhagavan form, the original form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that knowledge is revealed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so we can say we are fortunate to have been linked to this Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, so that we have access to this very intimate knowledge of Radha and Krishna. And therefore, Radha Kund becomes important for us. So I don't know whether your question is answered. Is that okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, so we move on. We have less than 30 minutes to look at the next verse. So Prabhuji, let's move on to the next slide. I think we are getting close to text 10. Sanika Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, can we see the next slide?
Text number 10.
Okay, that's text number 10. It says that the exalted position of Srimati Radharani and Radha Kund. So it says, Karmabhya parito hari priyataya vyaktim yayur gyaninas terbyo gyana vimukta bhakti parama premaika nishtataha te vyasta pashu pala pankanya drishas tabhyapi sharadika preshta tamdvat iyam tadiya sarasitam nashrayat kritihi. And the translation is, the next slide. In the Shastra, it is said that of all types of fruitive workers, he who is advanced in knowledge of the higher values of life is favored by the Supreme Lord Hari. Out of many such people who are advanced in knowledge, Gyanis, one who is practically liberated by virtue of his knowledge, may take to devotional service. He is superior to others. However, one who has actually attained prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to him. The gopis are exalted above all the advanced devotees because they are always totally dependent upon Sri Krishna, the transcendental cowhead boy. Among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna. Her Kunda, lake, is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as this most beloved of the gopis. Who then will not reside at Radhakund and in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, aprakrita bhava, render loving service to the divine couple, Sri Radha Govinda, who perform their Astakaliya Lila, their eternal eightfold daily pastimes. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of Radhakund are the most fortunate people in the universe. So here, Rupa Goswami is again giving us some levels of consciousness. He said that all types of fruity workers, he who is advanced in knowledge of higher values of life is favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are many, many types of fruity workers in this material world. But the one who is advanced in knowledge is favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And out of many such people who are advanced in knowledge, the Gyanis, one who is practically liberated by virtue of his knowledge may take to devotional service. Such a person is superior to others. However, one who has actually attained prema, pure love for Krishna, is superior. But even superior to this are the gopis who are so exalted above all other devotees because they are always totally dependent upon Lord Sri Krishna, the transcendental cowhead boy. But among these gopis who are considered superior, Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna because she serves Krishna better than everyone else. Her Kund is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as this most beloved of the gopis. Who then will not reside at Radha Kund and in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, render loving service to the divine couple, Sri Radha Govinda, who perform the Astakaliya Lila, their eternal eightfold daily pastimes. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of the Radha Kund are the most fortunate people in the universe. So let's see the next slide, Prabhu. I think the next slide is the translation, maybe the third slide. This is the translation. That's so the next one. Okay. Living entities within the jurisdiction of the material energy. Those living beings within the jurisdiction of the material energy sometimes engage themselves like dogs and hawks in working very hard simply for sense gratification. However, in this life, or after executing pious activities, in the next life, some karmis become strongly attracted to performing various kinds of sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. Thus, on the strength of their pious merit, they are elevated to the heavenly planets. Actually, those who perform sacrifices strictly according to Vedic injunctions are elevated to the moon and planets above the moon, as mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 9:21. Shine punye mashya Shine punye matsya lokam vishanti. After exhausting the results of their so-called pious activities, they again return to the earth, which is called Mashya Loka, the place of death. Although such persons may be elevated to the heavenly planets by their pious activities, and although they may enjoy life there for many thousands of years, they nonetheless must return to this planet where the results of their pious activities are exhausted. So fruitful activities is not very wonderful because the results of fruitful activities are temporary. Even if one is able to rise due to the great piety to the heavenly planets, to the moon planets, Gandharva planets, Kinara planets, many millions of planets are there occupied by different demigods of different categories and different piety. If one achieves any of these planets, life may be very long, 10,000 years, 20,000 years, even 1,000,000 years. But there is a beginning and there is an end. And when one piety is finished, exhausted, one has to return to the earth planet and begin all over again. This is the problem with pious life. Piety alone does not give us eternal life. Piety can only take us to the heavens, but as soon as our credits are exhausted, we have to come back to the earth planet. So such a life is not at all wanted by the devotees, because the devotees, they want to get out of this material world altogether. They want to go to the spiritual planets. They want to go to Goloka Vrindavan. They want to enjoy a life free from all kinds of material inebrities. So therefore, the devotees, they prefer to go back home, back to Godhead. So, but the living entities who are in this world engage in fruitful activities. They keep going and coming. They rise to the heavenly planets. They enjoy the results of their pious deeds. And when their pious deeds are exhausted, they come back to this earth planet. So therefore, it's here, Shine Punye Punye Marshe Lokam Vishanti. After exhausting the results of their so-called pious activities, they again return to earth, which is called Marsha Loka, the place of death. So, but one who is fortunate receives, he actually is favored by Krishna. He's favored by Krishna and is awarded devotee association. Therefore, it is said, Sadhu Sangha, Krishna, Kripa, Bhakti Swabhava. Sadhu Sangha, devotee association, is all due to Krishna Kripa, the mercy of Krishna. Krishna, our super soul, directs a living entity to a devotee association. And when he gets a devotee association, he gets involved in the activities of Bhakti, Bhakti Swabhava. The transcendental nature of Bhakti is very attractive. And that is available in association of devotees. Bhakti can only be experienced in the association of devotees. One cannot experience Bhakti in the association of demons or in the association of fruity workers. No, one can only experience Bhakti among those who practice Bhakti. So by the mercy of Krishna, one is given a chance to associate with devotees. And by associating with devotees, one is given a chance to execute devotional service. So the most pious karmi, fruity worker, is favored by Krishna and is awarded the devotee association, Sadhu Sangha. And by gaining Sadhu Sangha, one is able to perform devotional service. So that is Krishna's mercy. Living entities within the jurisdiction of the material energy. Next slide. Karmis and vikarmis. This is the position of all karmis, including those who act piously and those who act impiously. On this planet, we find many businessmen, politicians, and others who are simply interested in material happiness. They attempt to earn money by all means, not considering whether such means are pious or impious. Such people are called karmis or gross materialists. Among the karmis are some vikarmis, people who act without the guidance of Vedic knowledge. Those who act on the basis of Vedic knowledge perform sacrifices for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu and to receive benedictions from him. In this way, they are elevated to higher planetary systems. Such karmis are superior to the vikarmis, for they are faithful to the directions of the Vedas and are certainly dear to Krishna. So we have two categories of karmis. Karmis and vikarmis. Karmis are those who execute their fruitive activities according to the Vedic injunctions. And so for such karmis, they gradually rise and eventually get the mercy of the Supreme Lord. But the vikarmis, they act against the Vedic injunction. The Karmis, they are very sinful. They perform abominable activities and they become degraded. So therefore, the Karmis, they are faithful followers of the directions of the Vedas, and therefore they are dear to Krishna. Krishna favors them because they follow the Vedic tradition. They follow Vedic guidance. And by following Vedic guidance, they gradually become elevated. And at some point, Krishna favors them with the association of the devotees. And when they gain such favors, they also become devotees. When one gains the association of devotees, the fire of bhakti is ignited and devotional service begin. So those karmis who are following the Vedic rules and regulations, there is some hope that at some point when Krishna is pleased with them, he would bring them into the devotional association. And by such devotional association, they can take to the process of bhakti. And thus embark on the path of liberation, the path of going back home, back to Godhead. Next slide, Prabhu. The purpose of human life is to get out of the threefold miserable conditions. The purpose of human life is to get out of the threefold miserable conditions which are concomitant with material existence. Unfortunately, fruity workers are mad to earn money and acquire temporary material comforts by all means. Therefore, they risk being degraded to lower species of life. Materialists foolishly make many plans to become happy in this material world. They do not stop to consider that they will live only for a certain number of years, out of which they must spend a major portion acquiring money for sense gratification. Ultimately, such activities end in death. Materialists do not consider that after giving up the body, they may become embodied as lower animals, plants, or trees. Thus, all the activities simply defeat the purpose of life. Not only are they born ignorant, but they act on the platform of ignorance, thinking that they are getting material benefits in the shape of skyscraper buildings, big cars, honorable positions, and so on. The materialists do not know that in the next life they will be degraded, and that all the activities simply serve as prabhava, their defeat. So, material existence without spiritual life is a defeat, because whatever we are able to do will at the end be defeated. And that is why Rishabhadev, he told his 100 sons, Prabhavas tavat aboda jato, that a life devoid of Krishna consciousness, a life devoid of spiritual values, a life subject to ignorance, simply brings miseries. So, and then that one perpetuates his existence in this material world. So long as one is ignorant about the body, about the soul, relationship between the soul and the body, one perpetuates his existence in the material world. So therefore, this parabhavas, one becomes defeated. Material existence, the ultimate end is defeat. We may occupy the most important position in life. We may acquire the best risk defeat. When the time comes for us to leave, we cannot even carry a pin with us. So that is the defeat. All the energy we put in comes to zero. So that is why it is said, Labdwa sudularbam idam bahu sambhavanitiam apiha diraha. The body engage this life in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and which affords perfection, affords liberation, affords freedom. So therefore, instead of being defeated, parabhavas tavat aboda jano, instead of being defeated, one can actually gain the greatest result, manusham artadam. One can gain the best result from this body by engaging the body in the service of the Lord. So that is the opportunity this human form of life gives everyone the chance to engage in Krishna Bhakti, the chance to associate with devotees and hear about Krishna. And by so doing, one's future life is glorious. That is what Srila Prabhupada has given us. This International Society for Krishna Consciousness is an association of devotees so that others can take advantage of this association. Just as we are taking advantage of this association, we should give others the chance to also take advantage of this association. And only in this association, the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the knowledge of Goloka Vrindavan, the knowledge of love of Godhead is revealed. This is Manushya Artadam, the rare achievement, special achievement that the human body, the human form of life can obtain. And that is what we should concentrate on, because that would take us out of this material world, out of the miseries of material existence, and we don't take birth again here to experience all this. Next slide, Prabhu. Therefore, one should be eager to understand the science of the soul. One should therefore be eager to understand the science of the soul, Atma Tattva, unless one comes to the platform of Atma Tattva by which one understands the soul and not the body is oneself. One remains on the platform of ignorance. Out of thousands and even millions of ignorant people who are wasting their time simply and understand higher values of life, such a person is called a Jnani. The Jnani knows that fruitive activities will bind him to material existence and cause him to transmigrate from one kind of body to another, as indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam by the term Sarira Bandha, bound to bodily existence. As long as one maintains any conception of sense enjoyment, his mind will be absorbed in karma, fruitive activity, and this will oblige him to transmigrate from one body to another. As long as one does not inquire about spiritual values of life, one is defeated and is subjected to the miseries arising from ignorance. Be it sinful activity or pious activity, karma has its resultant actions. If a person is engaged in any kind of karma, his mind is called karmatmaka. With fruitive activities. Karmatmaka means the mind becomes colored with fruitive activities. And as long as the mind is colored, and so long as the mind is impure, consciousness is unclear, one has to take another body again and again and again. But one comes in touch with the process of bhakti, one gains the association for the pleasure of Krishna. Gradually, this karmatmaka, the colored mind, becomes purified by the process of bhakti. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha. One becomes situated in devotional service. One develops knowledge and detachment, renunciation, because he understands his position as Krishna does. And therefore, one prepares the path back home, back to Godhead. This is the value of Krishna consciousness. Next slide, Pramuji. Next slide. Our time is up, but we'll still do a few more slides. A jnani is considered superior to a karmi because he refrains from blind activities. Thus, a jnani is considered superior to a karmi because he at least refrains from the blind activities of sense enjoyment. This is the verdict of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, although a jnani may be liberated from the ignorance of karmis, unless he comes to the platform of devotional service, he is still considered to be in ignorance, avidya. Although one may be accepted as a jnani or one advanced in knowledge, his knowledge is considered impure because he has no information of devotional service and thus neglects the direct worship of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita, I think 6:46, Krishna says, Tapasvibhyo diko yogi jnanabhyo pimam matodikaha karmabhyas chadiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavara Arjuna. Krishna is telling Arjuna, a yogi is greater than the ascetic and greater than the empresses and greater than the fruiting worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. So, we have the fruiting worker. Superior to the fruiting worker is the empresses or the jnani. And superior to the jnani is the ascetic. And superior to the ascetic is the yogi. But even superior to the yogi is the bhakta. So bhakta means one who is engaged in bhakti, one who is engaged in Krishna's service. So therefore, a devotee is called a bhakti yogi. So Krishna is recommending to Arjuna that in all circumstances, be a bhakti yogi, because that is the best platform of rendering service to Krishna, to the Supreme Lord. So the Kami who has no knowledge of Gyan, he engages in blind activities, he engages in sinful activities, and simply complicates his life. He compounds his karma and may even lose the human platform of existence. He may go down to a lower species of life. But they have no knowledge. They don't know. And that is the dangerous, precarious situation of the karmis. The Jnani, he has knowledge that if he performs sinful activities, he will suffer. So therefore, the Jnani avoids sinful activities, avoids fruitful activities. But until they come to the platform of Bhakti, until they come to the platform of devotional service, Srila Prabhupada says they are still ignorant and they are still offenders to the lotus feet of Radha and Govinda, Radha Govinda, because the eternal position is that of service to Radha and Krishna. Jivera Swarup. Our real position is that we are eternal servants of Krishna. So if we are not engaged in that eternal activity, then we are still confronted by ignorance. We are still wallowing in ignorance, even though we may claim to be knowledgeable. So therefore, the empresses or the Jnanis, they are still in ignorance because they have not yet arrived at the final destination of the soul, whereby the soul engages in Krishna consciousness. The next slide, Prabhu. Next slide. I'll take a few more minutes up to 12:10, and we close. One who is wise surrenders to Krishna. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Actually, a person is wise when he surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna. But such a Mahatma soul, great soul, is very rare. After taking to devotional service under the regulatory principles, a person may come to the platform of spontaneous love of Godhead, following the footsteps of great devotees like Narada and Sanaka and Sanatan. The Supreme Personality of Godhead then recognizes him to be superior. The devotees who have developed love of Godhead are certainly in an exalted position. So here Krishna is saying, Bahunam Janmanamante Gyanavamma Prapadyante Vasudevam Savramiti San Mahatma Sudrun Labaha. After many, many births, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes. And all that is such a great soul is very rare. So the sign of wisdom is surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One cannot be considered wise if he is not a surrendered soul to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even the Bible says that the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. In other words, when we accept the Supreme Personality of God, when we accept the existence of God, that is the beginning of wisdom. One may be very brilliant. His IQ may be 100 over 100. But if he has no faith in the Supreme, he does not accept the existence of God, he is not considered a wise man. And that's why the Bible talks about the three wise men. The three wise men who came from the east to visit Jesus when he was born in the manger. They are wise. How are they wise? Because they understand the difference between matter and spirit. Because they understand the nature of the soul. They understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the relationship that exists between the soul and the Supreme Lord. So that is wisdom. Nowadays, anybody goes as a wise man, and he doesn't even understand his spiritual identity. He has no clue of the Supreme Lord and the relationship between the living entity and the Supreme Lord. But he passes as a wise man. He parades as a wise man. Wisdom, Krishna defines what wisdom is. One who understands Vasudeva as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrenders unto him. Even if you just know and you don't surrender, you are not considered wise until you surrender. So we can say that anyone who has taken to this path of Krishna consciousness and trying to surrender to Krishna, even though he's struggling to surrender, but he is the best of the wise in this our material world. He is a wise person because he's trying to surrender to Krishna. So therefore, that is our duty as devotees of Krishna. Our duty is to surrender. And to the degree that we surrender to Krishna, to that degree, Krishna reveals himself. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. As they surrender unto me, I reveal my nature, transcendental nature, to them accordingly. In fact, Krishna says, everybody is on his path. He says, everybody is on my path. But I reward them according to their levels of surrender, their levels of love, and their levels of affection. To the degree we have affection for Krishna, we have love for Krishna, we surrender to Krishna, to that degree, Krishna will reciprocate with us. So let us increase our faith in Krishna. Let us increase our surrender to Krishna. Let us increase our love, affection to Krishna. And Krishna will reciprocate with us. And that is the purpose of taking to the process of bhakti, so that we can surrender to Krishna. That is Krishna's desire. He wants every living entity to surrender unto him. And if we follow that desire of Krishna, we have nothing to lose. Krishna will embrace us and make our lives successful. Krishna will embrace us and make us happy entities, joyful entities. That is this Krishna consciousness Prabhupada has given us. So I think we'll end here. And then next week, I don't know whether we want to meet on Sunday or Saturday. We only have one more lesson and we'll finish this, the nectar of instruction. So if you want, you can hold Sunday. If you want, hold on Saturday, whichever day is convenient, let us know. And then we can finish it up. Meanwhile, I will get the essay. I will share it with Salika Prabhu, and then he can pass it on to everyone. I've also shared the slides of the lessons 1 and 2 with him also, so you can share all the slides with everyone. Are there any comments or questions?
Thank you, Maharaj. I've seen the lesson 1 and 2 that you sent. So at the end of the section, then I will share with all of the students.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comment? Any other question? Any other issue?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Nandini,
Is it
Anandini?
Anandini, yes.
Is it Anandini or Nandini?
Anandi Nidana.
Anandi
Danam. Anandini Danam.
Selika, we are getting it wrong. Also, Anandi.
It's Anadi.
Yes, Anadi. Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Anadi Nidanam.
Dana. Right, Prabhu. Yeah.
Anadi
Krishna.
Nidanam.
Right.
Anadi
Yes.
Nidanam. Okay.
Yes.
So that's your question.
Yeah, Maharaj. Thank you very much. But I would like to know, you see, last time when you gave a lecture in the temple room, you made mention that if any person comes to you that he is an incarnation of the Lord, Prabhupada said we should ask the fellow to display his universal form.
Yeah.
So, talking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I would like to know, has he also manifested the universal form? That's what I wanted to know.
Interesting. Lord Chaitanya, he did not only show the universal form. Lord Chaitanya showed so many forms. Different devotees, Lord Chaitanya revealed different forms. Ramananda Rai, Lord Chaitanya revealed Radha and Krishna form to Ramananda Rai. To Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Lord Chaitanya revealed the Sadbhuja form, 6 arms, 2 arms Lord Ramachandra, 2 arms Krishna, and 2 arms a sannyasi. To different devotees, Lord Chaitanya revealed Lord Shiva's form, revealed Nrsingadev form, different forms to different devotees. Lord Chaitanya did that. So, he might not have displayed the universal form, but for the mere fact that he displayed all the other forms to different devotees, he had satisfied the conditions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He demonstrated that he is not different from Radha and Krishna combined. So he has certified that. I have not come across where Lord Chaitanya displayed the universal form that Krishna displayed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. I've not come across. But he did display different aspects of the Lord, different incarnations of the Lord, different devotees. He did that. So we accept that as even more than the universal form. For him to display Radha and Krishna combined, when Ramananda Rai saw that, he fainted. When he saw Radha and Krishna coming out of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he fainted. And in fact, one devotee also, Sikhi Mahiti, he also saw Lord Chaitanya as Lord Jagannath. Sikhi Mahiti was taking a nap in the afternoon. And then it was revealed to him like a dream. He saw Lord Chaitanya standing in front of Lord Jagannath. There is a pillar called the Stamba, the Garuda Stamba in Puri. He saw last when Lord Chaitanya used to stand and take darshan of Lord Jagannath. So Sikhi Mahiti was dozing off, and he saw Lord Chaitanya standing at that pillar. And then all of a sudden he saw that Lord Jagannath is standing at the pillar and Lord Chaitanya is standing on the altar. In another moment, they change position. Lord Jagannath is standing on the altar, Lord Chaitanya is standing at the pillar. So he understood that Lord Chaitanya is non-different from his, and the Lord revealed different aspects of the forms of the Lord too. And therefore we can say that that is even superior to the universal form. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any
Hare
other
Krishna.
comment? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Ashwini
Maharaj.
Kumar. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, please accept my humble business.
Yeah, all glories to Gurudeva and Srila Prabhupada.
Okay.
Yeah, what's the question or comment?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy with the yeah. I have some short comment and then the clarification.
Okay.
I say I'm happy with the answers you just gave to my dear brother concerning this Vedic culture.
Okay.
Actually, we are fortunate to be here, to be going through all these lectures concerning Vedic culture in full. I would say that Vedic culture, almost in the whole world, each and every country or tribe or clan has some part of Vedic culture that is practicing.
That's
everywhere,
true.
almost everywhere.
Yes.
Yes. When you go to the Bhakterians, it is there. You come to Adan, it is there. You come to Ghana, even in Greater Accra here, the Ghans have it. But only in the minute form.
Yes.
And that minute form, if you go deep, you see that it only comprises the sacrificial aspects.
And the rituals.
I don't know whether it's because it involves animal killing.
And the rituals.
Yes, the rituals.
Yeah.
And they used to resort themselves that because they like meat eating, they have taken the rituals aspect of Vedic culture.
Yeah,
and so we are killing them to get some meat to eat. But we are fortunate that we are here today. We are learning everything in full. Actually, the knowledge has been started. It is there, but it has been started. And some countries, some clans, some tribes have chosen a minute part of it. They just go away with it. So we are fortunate to be here and learning all these things in full.
Yeah.
Secondly, concerning Krishna, we know Krishna has power unlimited.
Yeah.
He was able to bring the spiritual world to this material world. He was also able to absorb thousands of miles of the forest to get closer to him.
Yeah.
That he can view everything in the forest. But my question is, why was Krishna going through all that pains when he was about to separate himself from his devotees? Why was he going through that pains? Somebody who has all this unlimited power, why was he in pain when he was about to separate himself from his devotees or his associates?
Well, that's an interesting question. You see, like even I was mentioning earlier, that when Krishna was in Dwaraka, he was crying every night. So the question is, why is Krishna crying all night? In fact, Rukmini, the foremost of all the queens of Dwaraka, she was having sleepless nights because he will always witness Krishna crying at night. And so Rukmini gathered courage and confronted Krishna and said, my dear husband, you don't sleep at night. You're always crying at night. Am I not feeding you properly? Am I not taking care of you properly? Am I not providing all that you need properly? Why are you crying at night? I don't understand. And Krishna, he didn't want to speak actually, but he has to. He said, I'm remembering my pastimes in Vrindavan. I'm remembering my devotees in Vrindavan. I am feeling separation from Vrindavan. So, Krishna is simply demonstrating his deep, deep love he has for his devotees. That's all. Krishna is just demonstrating. Krishna can do without us. He can do without all the devotees. Yes. He can manifest unlimited universes. In fact, I think there was a conversation between Haridas Thakur and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they're talking about delivering the universe. And Lord Chaitanya said that this universe is just like a sack of, what do you call it? Sack of seeds, that the buoyant seeds. It said this universe is just like a sack of seeds. And if one sack is missing, what is the value? How does it affect a person who has thousands and thousands and millions of such sacks? So there are millions and millions of universes. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, even if one universe is missing, one universe, when all the living entities are missing, it doesn't affect Krishna. It's just like you have millions and millions of bags of rice and one bag is taken away. It doesn't affect you. But Krishna is simply demonstrating his love, his affection for his devotees. And therefore, Krishna is crying in Dwaraka, remembering his very, very wonderful devotees in Vrindavan. It just shows the deep, deep love, deep, deep affection that Krishna has for his devotees. Is that okay, Prabhuji?
Yeah. But I thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you
Any
very
other
much.
comment? Any other comment? Otherwise, we call it a day. Okay, thank you very much. We'll see everybody next week, probably maybe Sunday, so that we complete our discussion.
Thank you very much, Vanacari, for your time, patience, and tolerance of the devotees. It's very unethical. I think I would like to address this again next week. The idea of students, they come late, they leave early, and they leave the teacher in the class. It's completely absurd. This is lack of etiquette. And some of our devotees don't even understand. I feel so embarrassed by this attitude. We're very sorry this is happening. We'll try to find a way to correct this. Please forgive the impudence and then lack of proper Vaishnava etiquette of the students. We'll try to address the students and then make sure it doesn't happen again. Thank you very much for your patience. For the remaining students that are here, I request us to please kindly unmute and then loudly chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to appreciate Prabhu for his Hare
Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Srivas Vanacari.